What's up, everybody? I'm back, and today I do have some news I wanted to go over regarding Paul Gosar and this letter he sent to the FBI. I know there's been some criticism of Paul Gosar in the past due to the America First caucus situation. People were questioning whether he was really with us or not, and trust me, I kinda was too at the time. But I think if anything, this right here pretty much solidifies that he is going to be sticking with us. So let's just get right into this. I'm going to be reading the letter itself to you guys in a second, but first we'll just read out the tweet which he actually posted the letter through. The tweet says, I've written to the FBI to get information about this problem. My letter is attached. Today, Young America First supporters like Nick J. Fuentes, and tomorrow, anyone else the regime dislikes. Secret tribunals and no ability to challenge in court is immoral. And here's the letter right here. I'll be putting it up for you guys to see. And it says, Subject no-fly list. Dear Director Ray, I am writing to inquire about the no-fly list of the terrorist screening database, also known as the Terrorist Watch List, maintained by the Terrorist Screening Center of the FBI. As you know, the Transportation Security Administration implements the no-fly list through the Secure Flight Program. According to TSA, individuals on the no-fly list are prevented from boarding an aircraft when flying within, to, from, and over the United States. The freedom to travel with the United States is a protected fundamental constitutional right. Saints v. Roe, 1999. We need not identify the source of the right to travel in the text of the Constitution. The right of free ingress and regress to and from neighboring states, which was expressly mentioned in the Article of Confederation, may simply have been conceived from the beginning to be necessary commitment of the stronger union and Constitution created. Indeed, Justice Douglas referred to the right of free movement as a right of national citizenship. In light of clear supreme holdings on the fundamental nature of the right to travel, we question the basis for a no-fly list that is created in secret, maintained in secret, and provides no avenue to contest, challenge, or seek review. As explained by the court in Kent v. Dulles, 1958, the right to travel is part of the liberty of which a citizen cannot be deprived without the due process of law under the Fifth Amendment. So much is conceded by the Solicitor General. In Anglo-Saxon law, that right was emerging at least as early as the Magna Carta, 12 Cafe, 3 human rights in the Constitution of 1787. 171 through 181, 187 et seq. shows how deeply ingrained in our history this freedom of movement is. Freedom of movement across frontiers in either direction and inside frontiers as well was a part of our heritage. Travel abroad, like travel within the country, may be necessary for a livelihood. It may be as close to the heart of the individual as the choice of what he eats, or wears, or reads. Freedom of movement is basic in our scheme of values. See Cardinal versus State of Nevada, Williams versus Fears, and Edwards versus People of the State of California. Our nation, wrote Caffey, has thrived on the principle that, outside areas of plainly harmful conduct, every American is left to shape his own life as he thinks best, do what he pleases, go where he pleases. It cannot be reasonably disputed that the right to travel within our country is as protected as the right to free speech. Therefore, in order to add a citizen to a no-fly list, the federal government must prove a compelling state interest by clear and convincing evidence. In 2016, there were 81,000 people listed on the no-fly list, and 1,000 were U.S. citizens, none of whom were notified or ever given a hearing. Recent reports indicate that Americans, citizens with no charges, much less convictions for terrorism or violence, are continuing to have their constitutional rights infringed without any due process, much less with minimal due process. This troubling trend of political persecution by federal agencies is unconstitutional, immoral, and illegal, and the program merits significant oversight and reform. As described by U.S. citizen and Marine Corps veteran Ibrahim Maishal, "You're on the no-fly list," the woman at the kiosk told me. It was a Wednesday, 6 years ago, at Midway Airport in Chicago. I was traveling to Spokane, Washington, for my job as a dog trainer. I had absolutely no idea how I could have ended up on the no-fly list. At least 30 federal agents swarmed me. They didn't handcuff or manhandle me, but the sheer number of them was intimidating. I was in a state of shock, looking at them confusedly. Hundreds of other citizens have likewise been subjected to unconstitutional deprivations, including most recently Nicholas Fuentes. Accordingly, please respond answering the following. 1. Does the FBI continue to keep a formal or informal no-fly list? 2. Does the FBI have a process for evaluating whether someone is able to fly, and how do citizens' rights factor into the evaluation process? 3. Are political views a factor on whether an individual can fly? 4. Does attendance at free speech events or political protests factor into designation on the list? 5. Does the FBI ban citizens from flying based on perceived speech, expression of ideas, or association? 6. Are individuals notified if they are unable to fly? 7. Are any U.S. government officials on the no-fly list? 8. Are any individuals associated with the January 6th rally at the White House ellipse who have not been charged with crimes banned from air travel? 9. Which agencies or entities have access to the no-fly list or secure flight program information? 10. Are there any foreign nationals on the no-fly list that could avoid oversight by traveling on a private plane? 11. Is there sufficient process for U.S. citizens to appeal designation on such a list? 12. Are innocent Americans not accused of any crime on the no-fly list? Who and how many? 13. Since the beginning of the program, how many U.S. citizens who were at one point on the no-fly list have ever been convicted of a crime? 14. What is the legal authority that you contend gives you the right to arbitrarily add U.S. citizens to no-fly lists without any due process of law, without notice, and without any opportunity to contest the decision in a timely manner? I look forward to substantive responses to these questions. FBI and TSA's dubious actions to limit and revoke constitutional rights will not be ignored. The prevalence of false positives has been a recurring problem with the program and necessitates congressional oversight. The late Senator Ted Kennedy was famously included on the no-fly list because T. Kennedy was an alias of a suspected terrorist. Current Dean of the House of Representatives, Don Young, was also inappropriately associated with the no-fly list. In our view, FBI and TSA must provide prompt notice with a full explanation of reasons and the ability for the person being banned to challenge the designation administratively and then with a court review. The Traveler Redress Inquiry Program appears to be wholly insufficient for redress. Frankly, a private right of action against federal officials is warranted. Should you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact my office. Please abide by all rules and regulations when responding to this request by May 21st, 2021. Sincerely, Paul A. Gosar. Alright, so that is the whole letter right there, and I do have to say he hit pretty much every point that he needed to hit. All the questions are pretty spot on. Everything he says here I pretty much agree with, and not to sound like a simp, but he just truly did hit every possible point, at least every possible point that I can think of. But the fact of the matter is that we have an American citizen. In this case, it's Nick Fuentes. There has been other cases in the past, like Paul Gosar mentioned in his letter, but the most recent and the biggest case that we've seen so far is Nick Fuentes essentially gets his right to go wherever he wants, stripped from him, even though he's been accused of no crime or charged of any crime. He got no notification beforehand, and he got no way to appeal this ban. And it's not like this just happened to him. This is just how no-fly lists work for some reason. So clearly this is something that has to be changed, has to be reformed, because like Paul Gosar himself said, today it's Nick Fuentes, and tomorrow it could be anybody else the regime dislikes. And it's not just immoral, it's also unconstitutional that they have the right to do this to pretty much anybody that they want. They see someone like Nick who's got this whole movement forming and has done nothing wrong besides express his ideas, which they clearly don't like. So they see this and they want to stop him somehow, so they go like, hey, let's just put him on a no-fly list. Now he can't fly to rallies like he was doing during Stop the Steal. He can't even do any sort of press conferences like he tried to do in Florida, which was the one which I covered on live. Which, like, I guess he technically can do it, but he'd have to drive everywhere, which makes it practically impossible to do something like Stop the Steal ever again, where he'd go to multiple states in a short period of time. Like, if Nick wanted to go to all the battleground states in a few weeks, well, he'd have to drive everywhere. It would take a really long time. It would take a lot of gas money as well. So, it really does put a lot of limitations on him. So now, look what happens if there's a politician who's running for office or anyone else who they just want to put a limitation on like that. They could just put them on a no-fly list, and obviously we're not at that point yet. But the thing is, if we do let this slide, they'll slowly work their way there, which is why I think it's really good that we have Paul Gosar doing this. I know a lot of people did talk about the whole Nick Fuentes no-fly list situation when it happened. A lot of people that we wouldn't normally expect to even mention Nick's name at all. But in terms of actual politicians, I don't think we've seen anybody besides now with Paul Gosar actually do something about it or attempt to do something about it. So although, like I mentioned earlier, there have been people who've had some critiques of him, I think it's been working out pretty well having him as an ally, because not only did he write this letter, but he also directly mentioned Nick Fuentes in the letter and his tweet about it. And who knows if he even would have done this without having met Nick and having spoken to Daft Pack, and of course having all of our support. Anyways, that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say about this. Obviously, let me know what you guys think about everything in the comments. Like the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Check my description for my Discord, which we're still trying to rebuild, and that's pretty much the best place to keep up with the channel. And other than that, I'll be seeing you guys in the next one.
These niggas stealing my flow. These niggas stealing my gloves. These niggas stealing my look. They tryna steal on my goals. Switching it, I'ma keep going. I'ma switch it and keep going. I'ma keep switching, keep going. I'ma keep switching, keep going.